Welcome committee members, staff, and our online attendees. Today we had our TSHC Corporate Governance and Human Resources Committee meeting just prior to this AFRC meeting. As my colleague and fellow board member, Councillor Krisanthi, noted earlier today, I too would like to acknowledge today, June 12th, the second day of Shavuot, a Jewish holiday, also known as the Feast of Weeks. It is also Filipino Heritage Day, a day we celebrate the contributions Filipinos have made in enriching the diversity and social fabric across Canada. I would also like to acknowledge the upcoming Eid al-Adha on Sunday. Committee members in attendance today are Warren and Fareed. We have no deputations today. We would also like to welcome back Tom Hunter to the committee as he was reinstated as CEO on April 8th, just after our last AFRC meeting. Welcome back, Tom.
Thank you.
Today's agenda will focus on our Q1 2024 and April 24 financial result, as well as a financial update. We will have a short closed session today and should be back in live streaming around 5:20 to conclude our meeting. With that, I'll go to our next agenda item, Land and African Ancestral Acknowledgement. Toronto Seniors Housing Corporation acknowledges that we are on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Williams Treaties, signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. Toronto Seniors Housing Corporation acknowledges all treaty peoples, including those who came here as settlers, as migrants, either in this generation or in generations past, and those of us who came here involuntarily, particularly those brought to these lands as a result of the transatlantic slave trade and slavery. We pay tribute to those ancestors of African origin and descent. We will now proceed to item number 3. That's the approval of public meeting agenda. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Hearing none, may I have someone move that the June 12th, 2024 AFRC public meeting agenda be approved as presented? I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Maureen. Need a seconder. Seconded by Brenda. Thank you. With all in favor, be it resolved that the June 12th, 2024 AFRC public meeting agenda as presented to the AFRC is approved. We will now proceed to item number 4. That's the conflict of interest. May I call for any declarations of conflict of interest? Hearing none, we will move on to item number 5, approval of AFRC public session minutes of April 4, 2024. Are there any amendments to the minutes of April 4? Hearing none, may I have someone move that the April 4th, 2024 public session minutes be approved as presented? I need a mover. Unfortunately, I can't see any hands here. Moved by Maureen. I need a seconder. Jim, seconded by Jim. All in favor? Carried.
Lawrence, just a quick thing. I think I am a committee member on this committee.
Yes, you are a committee member. Also.
Okay, that's fine.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I missed out your name.
That's all right.
Okay. Apologies for that. Okay. Item number 6. approval of AFRC committee closed session minutes of April 4th, 2024. Are there any amendments to the AFRC committee closed session minutes of April 4th? Hearing none, may I have someone move that the April 4th closed session minutes be approved as presented?
So move, Mr. Chair.
Moved by Fareed, then seconded by, I need a seconder. Brenda, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Be it resolved that the April 4th, 2024 closed session minutes as presented are approved. We will now proceed to item number 7. That is the AFRC action items review. Brenda?
I'm looking at an actions list of May 2024. Is that where we discuss it, or is that from the previous action list?
Grant?
Through the chair, this is the current action list, Brenda,
Okay,
for today's meeting.
yes,
And if you'd like, I can give a very brief summary on the status of the actions.
yeah, I would, that's it.
Sure. So you'll see on the action list, the first section of the list shows 2 actions from our January meeting that are still in progress. And then the rest of the actions are all completed. I'll give a brief update on the 2 that are in progress. So the first one was to consult with TCHC on the environmental renewal and plan. We have spoken with TCHC about this and are working with them now on what level of update we can bring back for the committee. So that is in progress. And the second one was on an overview of the revitalization plans in the 24 budget, including net new potential housing for seniors. We are also working with TCHC on that one and how to bring an update back for the committee. So they're both in progress right now.
The new potential housing for seniors. Is that referring to the new funding that's becoming available in different forms and bits and bobs? Is that, are we any closer to knowing what use we might be making of those funds, federal and provincial funds?
So through the chair, in terms of what would encompass that update, that's still subject to discussions with TCHC. But
Okay.
it could, but it's more likely to be focused on actual revitalization plans or projects that are planned for,
Okay.
or actually for seniors within the TCHC portfolio. So there are a couple of
Okay.
TSHC buildings, for example, that are part of some revitalization plans.
Okay.
I know that Tom did give an update in one of the earlier meetings on some of the broader perspective, and I see his hand is up. Yes.
Yes, through the chair to the committee, just to let you know that there is a report going to the Planning and Housing Committee, or I'm not quite sure that the title of that particular committee, that provides more detail on the city's strategy around achieving the 65,000 homes. So that is there, that report is coming up. So you may just want to pay attention to that particular committee.
Yes.
But there will be I would suspect that even at this point, potential senior sites may still be kind of confidential unless the process has moved far enough along around the plans. I would think that it would still be would maintain confidential for months.
So are we an actor in these conversations? I just want to know, or are we working through Toronto Community Housing for this? Because
through the chair to Brendan, we are essentially working through Toronto Community Housing, but on this one, they have been kind of very kind of respectful in terms of sharing potential sites with us, where those sites are kind of in the queue as it relates to probable sites, and so that it's a minimal number, and we are it is through TCHC and the city, but we are being actively informed.
Okay, so that may mean new buildings as well as expansion of existing buildings or existing sites?
Through the chair, primarily new sites.
Okay. And my last question on the environmental renewal. Environmental renewal meaning what? The plans that are in place to be in compliant with climate change practices, or what are we meaning there?
Yeah, so through the chair, this was the language that was captured from when the action was discussed at a previous committee.
Yeah,
But it will equate to some updates on what is called the conservation program at TCHC, which they call it the conservation program. So, for example, some of the efforts they're doing around energy efficiency in buildings, smart buildings, things like
yes.
different things to impact from a climate or conservation perspective, and we do participate in that.
And will that be applied to us, our buildings?
It already is, yes.
It already is, okay. So can we expect some sort of report down the road soon about what buildings or what impact or what things we are looking at as Toronto Seniors Housing?
We can consider that in the update to understand that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So we're working with TCHC on what will be the appropriate sort of level of update that could be provided by them on this.
Because I know they have a whole department dealing with this, and I don't think we do. So
Oh, sorry, Brenda.
Yeah.
So through the chair, we do rely on the TCHC
Yes.
conservation program under the facilities team as part of our arrangements with them, and they do support our building, doing analysis on the buildings and whatnot.
Okay.
So we do get the reports and things like that to help us understand how our buildings are doing and things too.
Okay, just want to keep on top of that so we don't get excluded. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, if there are no further questions, we will move on to item number 8, that's CEO update. Over to you, Tom.
Yes, through the chair, thanks, and to the committee. So just a couple of items on the update for this committee, letting you know that we are in the final stages of completing the procurement to bring on the resources to support the development of the enterprise risk management framework. That's the complete the assessment, support the development of the risk policy and risk mitigation plan. And pending the outcome of the procurement, this work is planned to be completed Q3, Q4 of this year. And I know that, and yes, so they're down to, I think, three applicants that they're looking at. And then just more details on the 2025 budget process are also becoming available with a potentially accelerated schedule. And we'll keep you posted on that. And certainly Vince is working closely with the city, but they're looking for something kind of early summer in terms of the budget process. So this could be pretty change a bit of the focus for some summer work for some people. So but we will keep you updated on that on the budget timelines.
Thank you, Tom. Does anyone have any questions for Tom? Brenda?
Hold on. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Just a reminder that we don't repeat the problem we had last year where the board was sort of after the fact informed of the budget stuff. So I know that's a tight time frame if they're starting in the summer. So, but just so we're a little earlier in the loop, because last year we ran out of time and because of the scheduling of the city council meetings and et cetera. Yeah. So if we can just be aware that we don't try and make the same mistake.
Gotcha.
Any other questions for Tom? Okay, thank you, Tom. We'll now move on to item number 9, Q1 and April 2024 financial results. Over to you, Vince.
Thank you, and through the chair, through April 30th, 2024, as you will find in attachment number 9, total expenses of $14,298,139 on the total revenue of $12,637,645 for an excess of revenue over expenses of a loss of $1.662,539, including amortization expense for the first 4 months of this year. The 3 major factors affecting the position result for the first 4 months included the Q1 result surplus from TCHC, which we have started to record that starting in the 2024 fiscal year, which netted out to about $2.774 million. And that included $2.1 million of the $2.166,548 in revenue and about $608,034 in expenses. Also, along with the other factors included the salaries and benefits expense, which came out to a deficit of about $700,000, mainly on the $600,000 of that, $674,000 of that relating to salaries and benefits, and along with $100,000 of that on the post-retirement information. So along with the first 4 months of this year, we're actually showing better than budget by about $2.142 million. And again, that is mainly due to the 3 items that I've discussed at the top there. From my financial position perspective wise, just 3 areas I wanted to sort of highlight. One is on the cash. Our cash position as of the end of April was $1.535 million. And a couple other items relating to receivables and payable. The other big item is on the due from TCHC, which is about $7.645 million, and then due to TCHC about $5.867 million. Most of these 2 balances will be rectified and reconciled by the end of June. We have already received significant amount from TCHC, which you will find in the financial update report. And of course, we will also be paying TCHC all the service delivery agreement, and that will be settled in the month of June. So that concludes the financial result for the first 4 months. Are there any questions?
Yeah. Any questions for Vince? Okay, Vince, I have a couple of questions. Your statement of operations or income statement, the second line, TCHC, TSHC reconciliation, 2.166 million. I believe it's the transition agreement, the impact. What about the SDA? Has it been adjusted in the SDA shared services 2.674 million?
Yes, through the chair. For the first 3 months of this year, we recognize $608,000 of the underutilized expense of the SDA, and that's why you will see right now under SDA shared services with TCH, there is a underspend of 551. There's a couple lines in there, but 608,000 is a majority of that. Combine the 2.166 plus the 608 gives you about $2.7 million, which is the surplus we recognized, and we will also be talking a bit more about that in the in-camera session as well.
Okay, thank you. One more question. In your report, page number 3, you're talking about non-recoverable HST cost that was not budgeted. Can you speak to it?
Yes, certainly. So in the budgeting process as of the 2024, we did not include that component in there. And these are non-recoverable that we do pay to the CRA, which is a percentage of the HST. It comes out to about $100,000 approximately, and that amount we have not included, and it will. And thus, when you look at the first quarter, the difference between the two resulted in the $551,000 that you see there for the first quarter. But that is relating to the input tax credit that we had to incur as part of the first 3 months of this year.
What kind of transactions it pertain to?
So these transactions are directly from the services we pay to the city, to TCHC, and also what TCHC remit to us on the revenue piece of it. Per the agreement, we are separate entity, separate organization, and we are incurring these costs through that arrangement that we have with the CRA.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Vince?
So when you say non-recoverable, you mean that means we don't get it back, right? There's certain HST we don't get back?
Through the chair, that's correct, yes.
And we were approved by CRA, were we not? Remember, we submitted an
That's correct.
application.
But right now, currently, the organization, the services that we do have between TCHC, and TSHC are two separate entity. If we were to do that
Oh, I
directly
see.
with the city, then that would be a different conversation. But right now, because our arrangement is with TCHC, we had to sort of recognize that non-recoverable tax component.
So we're paying HST on the transactions going between the organizations.
Correct.
Wow. Wow. Again, is that appealable? Wow. Seems odd. Anyway.
Yeah, we are working with the CRA right now, along with TCHC, to mitigate that. So over
Yeah.
the course of the last little while, we are looking at ways to recoup that, but we are in conversations with them to take away those sort of unnecessary expenses.
So does that mean you're working to see that no HST will be held back, that it will be all recoverable?
Correct.
Is that what, okay. Oh, good luck
The,
with
the
that.
difficult, the difficult arrangement is that because through the transition agreement, the advances include the rent component and no less all of the expenses side of things.
Yeah.
That's the complications, and therefore, right now, if we were to get the direct subsidy from the city, this would sort of mitigate that process overall, and we would not have to deal with that more specifically.
Okay. Okay. I see. Wow. Okay. Interesting. Thank you.
Okay, if we don't have any further questions, we will move to item number 10. That's the financial update. Back to you again, Vince.
Great. Thank you, Win, through the chair. Attached on item number 10 on the package, you will see that the financial updates include three items. The first item Tom spoke about earlier, which is about the moving of the budget submission date earlier to July 29th. The city right now is still in consultations until going through discussions with their senior leadership team. We receive probably about the last 2-3 weeks now that the budget could potentially be moved to an earlier date from a normal submission date of mid-September. So right now we are having further conversations with them, and right now the next conversations we will be this upcoming, which might result in providing us more detail in terms of the submission date. But along with that as well, we are working with them to understand the 2025 budget, whether or not it will be a standalone budget or a consolidated budget. So those are the sort of the two main areas that are in discussions with respect to that item there. Along with that as well, if I can continue, and then I'll come back for questions, is relating to the the cash flow situation. So as I spoke earlier on the financial position, we did receive about $7.367 million from TCHC on the settlement of the 2023 deficit, along with the true up of 2024. So that helped greatly. Along with that as well, we received all the city funding, including COVID money and all that it pertains to the prior years. And along with that as well, we are waiting right now to pay out the SDA, which is going to be expected to come out in the month of June, which is going to be about $6 million. So in that effect, we've received about $7 million. We'll be paying out about $6 million. So this still nets out about $1.82 million, $1.9 million in total. And right now the cash position is manageable. We anticipate that we're able to work through this for the next 3 or 4 months with very close monitoring of the cash. And we are continuing to talk with the City of Toronto with the letter of guarantee, as that has been sort of been our item that in further conversation. And I know that now that we have a new housing secretariat lead, further talks are in that, and we anticipate that will be some sort of decision by Q3 in finalizing the letter guarantee, which would provide us with a line of credit with RBC of about $2.5 million. So as I stand right now, those are in progress, and we are waiting for further conversations with the city and hoping to finalize that within the coming weeks and months. And that's the report for number 10. Mr. Chair.
Any questions for Vince?
Just a quick one. The Housing Secretariat,
Mhm.
is this who we report through now? Everything goes through them? I know there's a number of housing actors in the city, but what is our reporting relationship with them, and what role do they have on us? I don't know if that's a Tom question or a Vince question.
Yeah, Grant.
Or a Grant.
Well, they could be, different folks might want to contribute to this. And so the Housing Secretariat is essentially the service manager for Toronto
Okay.
Seniors Housing. So we report to them. There is an accountability framework in lieu of an operating agreement with them that guides us. And so we work together with them. So when Vince is referring to the Housing Secretariat, there are different discussions that we have with the Housing Secretariat. We also have discussions with the City Financial Planning Division with regards to our budget as well. So they work together in different respects, and the way that that's set up at the city is to support different portfolios or lines of business across the city. So we do work closely with the Housing Secretariat on different fronts. A lot of it has to do with the operational stuff as well.
Are we answerable to them, through them
Yes.
to council, to council?
Yes,
So
we have.
will our
Sorry.
reports become under the Housing Secretariat, or will it be reports under Toronto Community Housing with an addendum for us?
So, well, through the chair, and maybe Brad could or Tom could add, the reports, we report independently to the Housing Secretariat as Toronto Seniors Housing
Okay.
under an accountability framework that they've given us.
Okay.
So what the Housing Secretariat does with that reporting in terms of further reporting, I do think they roll it up at some level. I'm not sure exactly how it gets presented in terms of independently representing our organization, because I know they look after and are service manager for many housing providers across the city.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we have any more insight into that. We could, I'm not sure
Okay.
if Brad or Tom, you might have more awareness.
I think that's good. I think that's good, Grant.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Jim, I see your hand up.
Vince, you mentioned a line of credit from RBC of 2.3 million. Is that a line of credit they're extending, or that's owed on the line of credit?
So through the chair, line of credit, this is a new line of credit with RBC, and this would be sort of a line of last resort. And it basically typically through the bank, they would require some sort of letter of guarantee. And so as part of the requirement, that line of credit of 2.5 million would require the letter of guarantee from the city in the event something happens, i.e. of a default, and therefore RBC can go back to the city. So this only sort of helps us protect in the event of a worst case scenario, i.e., if we have payroll that we will need to cover, and the $2.5 million is sort of our estimate of what our expected cost in terms of salary for the month, and that will just provide that buffer there. But back to your question, that 2.5 will secure the line of credit with RBC, and that was one condition that the RBC would allow us to have the line of credit if there is a letter of guarantee from the city.
Okay, thanks. That helps me, because I have a line of credit that is still on. The remainder is still there, but they give you a certain amount. You use some of it. There's still so much available to access again if you need it.
Yeah.
That's why I asked the question. Thanks.
Yep. Welcome.
Thank you. Any more questions? Okay, seeing none. We will now go to item number 11 to have a motion to move into closed session under section 4.19 of the bylaw. We'll come back to the public session in a few minutes' time. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Jim. A seconder, anyone? Brenda, all in favor? Carried. We'll be moving into the closed session now.